So, welcome to Joe's Corner. Today I got a real treat for you. I'm going to play a video, then I'm going to get into my commentary. Enjoy.
This is probably one of the worst ones that we've seen.
Mount Waverley in suburban Melbourne, a family home harbouring a ghastly secret.
A convicted slave owner.
One of her alleged captors.
This sad story begins in 2007 when IT worker Kandasamy Kannan and wife Kumathini travelled to India and bring back a housekeeper we won't identify. The next day at court, a cameraman injures himself, requiring hospitalisation. Mrs. Kannan can barely contain her amusement.
Is that a very good look? You're about to be sentenced. You could go to prison for a very long time. Are you worried about that?
This would absolutely send a strong message to anybody who thinks that it's appropriate to keep a person in a slave-like circumstance in their household out of greed, laziness, or a sense of entitlement.
So, one of the things that my goal was when I was first coming to the Philippines is I wanted to operate mini stores. And reason was because to prevent this kind of situation with slavery. A lot of Filipinos, a lot of Indian from India, a lot of other places, Southeast Asia. These women, they go into contracts for work, right? And what happens is sometimes you get a bad employer or you get a criminal employer and you get treated this way. So this woman, you saw her, right? So apparently this reporter has this big camera on. These are not light cameras. And these are high quality, heavy built cameras. So he was walking back trying to get the footage of her coming out the courtroom, and what happened was he didn't see the I don't know what you want to call it, the thing behind him, the brick thing to keep the plants. Apparently he fell backwards with the camera on him and he hurt himself so bad he had to go to the hospital, right? And you heard that woman laugh and she giggled at this. She laughed and giggled at a complete stranger because he got hurt. So you can imagine what she was doing to this girl daily, pouring water on her, burning her, starving her to death. That girl passed out on the floor, urinating on herself. Her temperature was low, 28. For those of you that are American, it's pretty damn low. Way low. It's below, that's death. That's about damn near death. It should have been death. They were scared they might get in trouble for murder, so they called, then they lied and say she was just staying at a hotel. Turned out that wasn't true. That's what type of people these were. They're liars, they're abusers, and they think they're entitled to do this. They think they're entitled to look down on everybody else. And it's still a problem today that you have a lot of rich people that do this. They look down on other people as lesser and not human beings. And it's sick. And it's aggravating. And you know, there's stories here of Filipinos, they're found in freezers, butchered overseas. Sometimes you don't give up your passport. One of the things I did when I was trying to find a teaching job in China is I flat out told them that I'm not going to give you my passport when I get there. We need this agreement. I can send you a copy of everything. And the reason was because I was smart enough to know about these situations. And what happens is, before Saudi Arabia changed their law not too long ago here, so you go into an employment contract with your employer, you hand them a passport, they keep that passport, right? And that is actually a form of slavery. So basically, if you're being tortured and beaten and you run away, you ain't got a passport to go back, which I think is wrong. Personally, I think there should be an easier system. I think if you're being abused and they keep your passport, you just go to an embassy, your embassy or the police, say, hey, this is what's going on. They could easily just put you on a plane and verify your info. You shouldn't even actually need a physical passport anymore. Everything can actually be digitized, believe it or not. You can carry it on you for ID, but in situations like that, there's a better system of doing things. But sometimes the police in the country, they lock you up. Like that, what was that British woman or Australian woman? They went to the Middle East and she was raped. They locked her up for it, said it was her fault. If you were a Catholic to begin with, right, or you coming from a country that's non-Muslim and you go to a Muslim country, you're already putting yourself at a minimum risk because of different religions, different ideologies. My wife's friend, she left plumpy, if you want to call it that. Not fat, just hefty, okay? But when she was with her Saudi Arabia employer, she looked like Skeletor. She was saying she was just getting a few loaves of bread a day. This is kind of stuff that happens to a lot of these type of women who are poor. Often what happens is they work these kind of jobs so they can send their money back home to their family. They're sacrificing themselves for their family. These girls from India, the Philippines, and other parts of Southeast Asia. That's what they do. That's the sacrifice that they're making. But the governments, like the Philippine government, even China, Saudi Arabia, America even, Canada, they're a little bit behind and lacking. There was a story, I think, by Inside Edition that showed a lot of girls in Hong Kong from the Philippines are being abused, either sexually, physically, mentally. And there was another story of a girl they literally beat her, threw her out, didn't even throw her things out, and they're laughing at her. These people from Hong Kong, this rich couple. But Hong Kong had a shelter set up. They found this girl, thank God. And they were able to, I think, help her. But often what happens is when girls like that get thrown on the streets, their only means to get help is to sell their bodies, unfortunately. And there was another story that made me angry. And there's so many stories. So this girl in the Philippines was being abused by her employer. She gets thrown out. She had to sell her body, and she finally convinced somebody to help her. But he wanted her to sleep with him first. So she did. She agreed, and they slept together. Then he went and helped her. That's not much of a man. He took advantage of her, then he helped her. You're just as guilty as everybody else. This is the kind of thing that needs to stop. It needs to stop. Personally, I would never allow any of my workers to go to Saudi Arabia or India or Hong Kong or China to begin with, because you are putting yourself at risk, especially if you don't know that employer. But when you watch that video, and I'll leave a link in the description, she knew the employer. I guess she worked with him 3 times already. She was willing to take that abuse with her for her family. And they didn't even pay her. She couldn't even send money back. That's why the family was already begging people for help. If you're a police officer in any country, especially in India, and you have a family that comes up to you and says, hey, we haven't seen our daughter in a year. We haven't seen our daughter in 2 years. We haven't seen her daughter in 3 years. We know where she's being kept. Something's going on. You as a police officer, other than taking a report, you need to take action. And that's part of the problem. Nobody took action. There's no accountability system, no checkup. You heard the other part of that story too. In Australia, they said her passport was expired and taken, so she lost her right to life. You don't lose your right. Somebody should have been over there checking on her. Somebody from immigration. See, Australia failed that woman too, because they knew about her. They knew enough that the passport had failed, and there's no accountability. So if you're a domestic worker and you're going to any country, you need to register. And there needs to be a system of registries. This is how you fix the system. And you need to listen to me. If you're a leader in the country, you need to listen. And listen good. You need a system of checks and balances of every single worker, and it can be done. You register before you leave, and a worker will show up to that address that you're registered on to verify. You shouldn't even get approved for that job until somebody physically goes to that employer, checks that location out, and verifies the employment. And once you arrive to that location, somebody needs to check up on you at least every 3 months to make for sure stuff like that ain't going on. That's how you fix that system. But we have a very lazy governments around the world, and we have a very entitled system that supports that kind of behavior where somebody like her laughs at somebody being hurt. That's what gets her off. Hopefully, they get the book thrown at them. They shouldn't even be free. That should make you mad that they showed up to court. They got some kind of bond and they're allowed to walk away. Where Current Affair had a camera at their home walking back. They should have been in handcuffs and in jail and stayed in jail. That's another Australian fail. Your Australian government, you're failures. You're failures as men. You're failures as government. You're a failure system. Those people should not be walking free. What's wrong with you? You should be embarrassed, Australia. You should be embarrassed. You're one of the first world countries, but you're acting like a bunch of idiots in your government. And you are an idiot because you're allowing those kind of people to walk free. And that is shameful on your part. Time to grow up. Thank you for watching Joe's Corner. Have a nice day. Take care of each other.